All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to True Correct Loser. I hope you're doing well. So, folks, today we're going to jump back into the Johnny Depp Amber Heard defamation lawsuit extravaganza. It has been wild viewing. We're a couple days into Amber Heard being up on the stand under direct examination, and I don't know how many people are buying what she's selling. I think she's laying it on way too thick. The stories that she's are telling aren't really stories. The picture that she's painting is not realistic. When Depp was up there telling stories, or even any of the other witnesses that are telling a story, it's easy for them to remember things. I said it last video, none of this is rocket science describing one of these episodes. And Amber's the only one that has a bunch of phrases like, I don't really recall specifics. I don't know what happened immediately after. I don't know how we got into. I think I heard him. There's all of these, it's different language. When Depp was up there, he would tell a story. The lead into the story wouldn't leave you going, wait, what? The event of the story seemed plausible, and how the whole thing resolved or concluded, either good or bad, also didn't leave you going, huh? When Amber tells a story, it's like, I don't remember much of the specifics, but what I do remember is I was sitting there being emotionally well-adjusted and cool in every way, and Johnny kicked into the door with black eyes. His eyes were black. She likes to dramatically repeat the big line, but a lot of times it comes off as a mediocre community theater monologue. His eyes were black. They were black. So Johnny comes in, and I was just being cool and quiet, and he beat me senseless for 5 days straight, and my head caved in. It healed immediately, so there's no evidence or doctor. We didn't have to go to the doctor. It was one of those quick healers, thankfully. But I don't remember much after that. It's like, okay. So she told maybe 4 or 5 of those stories so far up on the stand. I picked one of them that we're going to dissect, go over the parts that I think are not believable, or the part she added. I think a lot of her strategy is take one line of truth and then spin a bunch of her own reality, spin a bunch of the lies around it. So as soon as one of the lies around the truth starts to get a little bit unbelievable, like if she could sense the jury is like, what? Then she'll just get right back onto the one thing she can tell the truth about, and then hang on that for a little bit, and then go back into the he beat me up for the whole weekend, but we just love the same poetry. He read me a poem. The first day, I think because the picture she's painting was so unrealistic, she had to try to make it believable, because it was years before they even got engaged or anything, and it was so bad. And then to try to make the whole thing sound believable, right at the end, she'd add in, yeah, but we love the same poems. We love poetry. It's like, who are these poets? I got to get down on this poetry. But like I said, I took notes on one of the stories. They all sounded the same and kind of came off the same. She had the same strategy. So much strategy is happening within the testimony. We'll talk about that. I think it's so fascinating. The story that I picked is the infamous story where Amber close fist punches Johnny. And the reason I chose that one is because, unlike the 4 or 5 other stories that she tells, there's an eyewitness for this one. So Johnny told this story up on the stand, the security guard told the story up on the stand, and then Amber told the story up on the stand. So you can compare Amber, because there's an eyewitness and he's right there and there's no mistake in it, she has to tether parts of that story to reality. Unlike some of her other ones, there's gotta be like this long tether, oh God, it's long. But with that one, like the punch, she has to tell the story that she clocked Johnny with the closed fist. So the way that she flips that around, just a spoiler alert, is that she punched him because she is a victim, but also a hero. So anytime someone tells a story where they're the victim and the hero, it's kind of like, Is that believable? But we'll get into that. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I want to set up Amber's testimony because a lot happened very interesting leading into the testimony. Like I said, so much strategy is happening with the testimony. When to put stuff, when to mention stuff, how many hours of just pretending that she's totally perfect before you add in, yeah, I did do a little bit. And then the story with the punch that I'm talking about, they stuff way at the end. So the jury heard hours and hours of her just being like, I handle every domestic disagreement, even normal ones, with the patience and wisdom of a monk that lives on top of a mountain and wears robes and meditates. I just am completely perfect and well adjusted. That was her for 3 hours and hours. And I'm thinking, how are you going to present yourself as this? You're going to get cooked in cross-examination because there's recordings and eyewitnesses and the whole thing. For 3 weeks, a picture has been painted of their relationship, and then all of a sudden she gets up there and just goes, I don't remember much. And we'll get into it. But Depp's side rested his case. Since I talked to you, they ended their case with a security guard that was there to testify. He was the one that was right there for the closed fist punch, that pesky closed fist punch that Amber has to explain. So he's a big witness. The closed fist punch. They had another security guard that testified in Australia that Amber threw the pop can down viciously, down, and it was kind of funny. Amber's lawyer tried to neutralize that witness by like, well, she threw the can, but was Johnny's penis out? Huh? And everyone's just like, huh? And so that one, he was a pretty solid witness. And then I can't remember the order, but they had another talent agent from CAA. I thought he was a very strong witness. He testified that he was representing Johnny. Johnny had the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and then the op-ed came out, and then Johnny no longer had the Pirates movie. So very simple. Seems like a good witness. And then they had maybe I think the strongest witness, which is a lawyer who had been a lawyer in show business in Hollywood for 50 years. His credentials officially made him an expert in showbiz. That's kind of cool, right? I'm an expert in showbiz, baby. But he testified more on just like the feeling in Hollywood. He's been there so long, he's closed all these deals. And he testified that the allegations that came out for Johnny were catastrophic for his reputation, right? He said that Hollywood deals with diva and drugs because Amber's side has been arguing that he crashed his own career because of, his own. But they were saying Hollywood, if you're as talented as Johnny Depp, will look past being a diva and being drugs, but as soon as there's like abusing women, no one wants a part of that, which is how it should be. So he said it was catastrophic. I thought he was a really good witness. He got cross-examined by Amber's lawyer that objected to himself. That guy's nerves are frayed. He seems rattled. I don't know. His attitude was the whole time, like, Judge, I'm talking about reputation. It's like he looked like he was about ready to throw a fit. There's a lot of like, and I just think, there's no coming back from that. The man objected to himself. I feel like he's going to end up in some sinister looking state hospital staring at the wall, muttering to himself, it was hearsay. It was hearsay. But anyway, the 50-plus year lawyer in Hollywood, the expert in showbiz, I thought was a good witness. And then they had a forensic accountant that looked over all of Johnny's finances and testified he did lose that money. I thought that Amber's side neutralized him pretty well. They had an expert in internet reputation who is just like really good at looking at Google Analytics. And if a brand wants to hire a celebrity to represent their brand, you can contact this guy's company and he'll tell you, yeah, their reputation's clean online, or you might not want to hire him. There's this. I knew when he was getting sworn, or when he was explaining what he did, I figured they'd be able to neutralize him, which they did. I don't think it was that great of a witness. They were able to neutralize him because it's so hard to prove that things are just because of that op-ed. You can't look at the totality of the restraining order that she got against Johnny, even though Johnny was in a different country. And some of the other, the news stories come out, the lawsuit has to be because of the op-ed, and that's just, I think, an uphill road for Depp's side. But they had that lawyer, and I think that's it. Maybe I'm forgetting one, but I thought they ended the case pretty well. And then the Johnny Depp rests his case. The plaintiff rests. And then it got really interesting because they rest their case. Now it's Heard's turn to start their case, but Mr. Rottenborn put in a motion to strike 3 of the defamation claims. The audio was cut out for the first 30 seconds when he was explaining his official motion, so I don't know exactly what it is. They kind of dropped the ball on the audio, but he wants to have stricken the defamation claim that's related to the title of the op-ed, and then 2 of the statements in the op-ed, one of them being that 2 years ago, Amber became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and then the other one is, I saw how institutions protect men accused of abuse. So Mr. Rottenass was arguing in a motion. They send the jury out of the room. So he's like, we move to strike these claims. And he was saying the title, he's pretty much saying enough evidence. We are moving to strike because enough evidence came out during Depp's case that these don't meet defamation anymore. He first set up what you have to meet to actually get defamation. And I mean, it's a lot. I think no matter what, Johnny's going to win in the court of public opinion, but it's going to be interesting to see how the jury chooses this one. But he sets it up, defamation, you need this, it has to be intentional, it has to have malice, the whole thing. And he argued, like I said, the jury's out of the room. This is an all hands on deck attempt to end the thing right there, so you're going to get the best of Heard's side's argument, which it's tricky because if you're going to move to strike and you're going to put your best argument forth, you also have to show your hand right before you do your big case. Because everybody's thinking, do they have some witness that saw something that Johnny did? I'm interested. Maybe they do. Do they have something? But with this move to strike the motion, it forced Rottenborn to show his cards a little bit, and their hand does not look great. Specifically, they're saying that even though he goes, there's overwhelming evidence that Johnny physically abused Amber, we understand that there's a dispute, and so essentially he says, we're not going to argue that, which the way I understand it is they don't have any evidence whatsoever that he physically abused Amber, which, think about that. Think how many times Amber said on the stand that she was punched in the face over and over again, and she has those pictures, but it doesn't sound like her lawyers think those pictures are strong enough. So, like I said, Rottenborn goes, since there's a dispute, we're just kind of going to go with that he verbally abused her, which is big in just the totality of it, because Amber is up there on the stand just going on and on and on about, at times, just unbelievable, unrealistic abuse. And on Twitter, Amber has the pictures, right, of her nose bruised and the eyes, and that's kind of in Amber's eyes some evidence, but her lawyers don't seem to be using it. But someone on Twitter, this woman posted a picture that looked very similar to Amber's. It even looked more realistic with some black eyes and a bruised nose and a busted lip. And she was sitting there, with a sad look on her face. And I swung the computer screen around and I said to my wife, hey, look at this. And my wife looked at her and goes, well, is that someone that actually Are those real bruises? And I said, no. And the caption of the picture is, in 3 minutes with a couple lipsticks, I was able to do this. I have no training in makeup. I was not beat up. I'm not a victim. Imagine if someone knew what they were doing with makeup, had a full makeup kit and put in a little time, what they could do. And so those pictures of Amber just don't, it's kind of scary how good the bruises look with just makeup until they're compared to someone that real bruises, and then they don't look, all of a sudden they don't look real at all. Another woman, and then a bunch of other people did this. It's sad, but people were posting again on Twitter of pictures of themselves saying like, my ex did punch me, and this is the result of one punch, and this is what a broken nose off one punch looks like, and it just looked horrible. And I've broken my nose twice. Look how crooked this thing is. When you break your nose, it takes a while to heal, and like a lot of bruises, it looks worse as it heals. 2 or 3 days in, it gets comically, alarmingly black and purple, and unlike Amber's and the fake ones with makeup, it's under the skin, right? That purple is under. It's not like this color pencil fade on top, and then it turns kind of greenish purple, and then it turns pretty green, and then slowly fades away. And so Amber would have taken so many more pictures. It would have, all of Amber's heal in like a day, just a quick healer. That's the other thing. She's given this testimony about these beatdowns she's getting, but she forgets they're so famous that paparazzi follow them everywhere. So she described like a 72-hour beatdown, and then someone found a picture of them. They land in a plane the next day, and Amber gets out, and she looks amazing. She looks stunning. No bruises, nothing. And Johnny's in the back with his hand wrapped, looking completely awful. Okay, so Rottenborn has to show their hand a little bit because he's getting, he wants the whole thing to be strict, or 3 of the however many defamation claims. He wants them to be gone. He wants summary judgment to be given to Amber, and it was a dirty move to go for that, because they made a stipulation at the very beginning, an agreement that Johnny's side wouldn't call Amber up on the stand and ask her who wrote the title of that op-ed. She's saying she didn't write it. The ACLU lawyer saying they didn't write it. They're saying Washington Post wrote it. Washington Post, it came out with an online version. It looks like the Washington Post thought maybe the online title might get them sued, so then changed the title. So there's all this argument with the title of the op-ed, and Rottenborn's making the argument that the ACLU lawyer said Amber didn't write it, they didn't write it. He said that the Washington Post wrote it, so how is that defamation if Amber didn't write it? So that's enough evidence right there to be stricken, but they made an agreement. It was a dirty move because they agreed, we're just going to wait for Amber. You guys can call Amber to the stand, and we want to ask her about the title, but we'll just wait for you to do it. We don't need to call her up during ours, which is a cool thing to agree on if you're Depp's side, but Mr. Rottenborn comes in, and then he was saying that the 2 other statements, the representing domestic abuse and saw how institutions protect men accused of abuse, he's saying that's not defamation because she did represent domestic abuse, whether you believe her or not, and that he was accused of, protect men accused of abuse. He was accused of abuse, and he's saying the evidence is overwhelming that he at least abused her 1 time verbally. That's when you show they're not going to go for physical abuse, I think, because he was acting like he was just doing it because he's cool Rottenborn. Since there's a dispute, we won't go, down the physical abuse because we're cool. But, I think it's a decent point. He's saying if he verbally abused her 1 time, then that's not defamation. Then he is a man accused of abuse. So he goes the big motion to strike, doesn't work. Mr. Chu, Depp's lawyer, while Rottenborn is giving this speech, is standing up and interrupting him. And at one point, Rottenborn goes, can I finish my argument? And Mr. Chu, Depp's lawyer, just goes, I cannot wait to oppose this. And the whole crowd in the courtroom started laughing. Blah. And so Rottenborn finishes motions to strike. It gets shot down. And so just like that, much to their dismay on her side, they got to make a case now. Amber is going to have to get up on the stand. And so here is where the intense strategy starts. Who are you going to call before Amber? Before Johnny, they called, like, who'd they call? His sister, Amber's personal assistant that was with her. You know, you want to set it up and get kind of the narrative that you want, and then the big witness testimony. So it's no accident that Heardside called their psychologist Dr. Hughes before Amber. And it's real easy to explain Dr. Hughes' testimony because it's exact 180 opposite in every way of Depp's psychologist, Dr. Curry. Dr. Curry, Depp's psychologist, if you remember, diagnosed Amber with borderline personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, and no PTSD. The opposite, Dr. Hughes, diagnosed Amber as no personality disorders and horrible PTSD solely because of Johnny Depp. And I always think when I agree with a psychologist, I always think psychology is a vibrant and respectable field. And then when I disagree with one, I think psychologists are all hacks and losers. But I think we're going to have a doctor duel. Depp side, Dr. Curry. Amber side, Dr. Hughes. When Dr. Hughes, Amber's psychologist, was up on the stand saying the exact opposite of Dr. Curry was back in like the little witness waiting box, almost looking like a UFC fighter or a boxer right before the fight starts, just like staring the doctor down. I really hope we have a doctor duel and they get to comment on each other's. But coincidentally, Heard's psychologist testified that it's anything that she does violent is totally reactive because of what Johnny does, and nothing is Amber's fault in any way, and she's psychologically pristine and perfect. And it's just tough hearing for 3 weeks a lot of the stories and the audio recordings, and to think that, you know, this psychologist is right. But it was definitely strategy. Get up there, tell him that she doesn't have these personality disorders, tell him that it's all reactive. Any violence that she does, that does bubble up, it's just reactive because of Depp and the whole 9 yards. So she's up there for hours and hours and hours. One of my favorite parts of the whole trial so far is Depp's psychologist is Dr. Curry, Heard's is Dr. Hughes, but Heard's lawyer kept calling their psychologist, Dr. Hughes, Dr. Curry, and Dr. Hughes got pissed. She's up there, and Elaine, Heard's lawyer, goes, Dr. Curry. And Dr. Hughes goes, it's Dr. Hughes. And Heard's lawyer goes, oh, Elaine goes, oh, I'm so sorry. And then like 2 seconds later, they break and approach. And then when they get back into it, Heard's lawyer again goes, Dr. Curry. And she goes, it's Dr. Hughes. Jeez. She goes, jeez. And Dr. Hughes gets visibly mad. I mean, she is furious at Amber's lawyer. It throws her. She kind of goes hag after that. Her hair flattened, her face got mean. Like, she was looking great, and then all of a sudden she got called the wrong name a couple times. And I think probably why she reacted, she got so mad, is a big part of her business is testifying, which I don't think makes her look bad. All the lawyers think that's such a big move. How much are you being paid to do this? But a big portion of her practice is testifying in these trials. So she's probably thinking, this is really good advertisement. This is the most viewed trial thing. I'm going to be up there. She's probably thinking this part of my business of testifying as being the expert testimony is going to go way up because of all this visibility, and people are going to know who I am. And then the lawyer keeps calling her the wrong name. So I would assume. But she testifies that Amber is psychologically pristine and anything bad is Depp's fault. So there you go. And then we get into Amber's testimony. And like I said, the first 3 hours, I would say, are just a total perfect, patient human with wisdom and vision and just something we could all really aspire to be. And like I said, I was thinking that whole time, she's going to get cooked in the cross-examination. How is this a realistic strategy? And then I saw the strategy 3 or whatever hours in. Finally, she goes, and we called each other names. I'm so ashamed at the names we called each other. Or she would say, and I, after, getting beat down, I did smack him. It's like this, empowerment. Every time she does say that she swung or something, it's like this empowerment. Like she's, like the jury's going to go, yes, queen. Yes, you throw a slap at that guy. And it didn't seem to be coming off believable. She would go to cry sometimes and just nothing would come out. Oh yeah, we got to do a couple of these. Okay. And so she's planting that seed hours in. I'm so ashamed at the names we called each other. But she set up, it's just, he is so, in ways, comically horrible that I'm ashamed, but we would. It was ugly. It was toxic. So now I think when Depp's side placed her the recordings of herself just being, unbelievable, she can say, yeah, I was pushed into that state by how Johnny treated me, and I'm ashamed of it, and I called him ugly names. And I think that's going to be the strategy. Just go back into that, yeah, I'm ashamed, we called each other ugly names, I was abused. And so that, like I said, hours and hours in, she planted that little seed, and then we'll get to one of the final stories she's talked about, which is also no accident, that pesky blow that she landed with a closed fist. It's also not an accident that she painted herself as totally great, and then way here, after you've heard hours and hours of that, oh yeah, I had a little closed fist blow, but it's the only one I've landed. But I'm not even going to talk about Johnny's side, or Johnny told this story. It matches up very good with the security guard story, but I think the security guard story is more believable because, you could argue that he has loyalty to Depp, but I really don't think these security guards, if it truly was Amber, if it was the picture that Amber's painting, I don't think a lot of these witnesses, some butler that worked for him a couple times, would lie and go to bat for Johnny. Maybe I'm wrong, but the security guard's story is very simple. It's easy for him to remember. It's not rocket science. He said that he's over there, and Amber and Johnny are fighting like they always do, and it's toxic, and they're having a decent argument. It's nothing too crazy. It dips in from arguing down to kind of just talking. And so him, the security guard, and the nurse are trying to give them space and just hanging out right outside the room. And how awkward is that if you're their security guard? You just have to listen to them fight all the time. That's another thing with allegations of domestic abuse. For a normal couple that lives in a trailer, they don't have another penthouse they can go to or security and butlers around to witness it. So, but he's saying he's out there, hanging out there, fighting like they always do, calling each other the C word and just awful stuff. And then it starts to build. He thinks to himself, all right, maybe I should go in there. It's getting louder. He goes in there. Johnny's on the lower floor. Amber's on this upper floor. Amber's sister is up there. Amber throws a Red Bull can, he testifies. It comes down, hits Johnny square in the back. After that, he's thinking, okay, I don't want my client to take another pop can to the back. He said he felt bad that he wasn't there to block that one. They're fighting more. The security guard said that the F word is his favorite word, and they were using it so much it made him even uncomfortable. So they're really mad at each other. He testifies that a bag, like a purse, gets thrown down as well. He blocks that away from hitting Johnny. She spits at Johnny. Didn't hear anything like that in the first 3 hours of Amber's testimony. She spits at him. Now he said Johnny is totally furious because of the Red Bull to the back and getting spit at. And so then Johnny goes up the stairs, and the security guard testifies that now he's going, all right, well, I got to get Johnny out of there, but also he's letting them do their thing. They're in their apartment, they're arguing. So the way he described it is he wanted to take Johnny and go, but they're doing their thing. And then, I'm sorry, after the spit and the throw, Amber left for a little bit, and Johnny, he testified, he was really angry. He testified that Johnny starts tipping over her closet racks. He throws one of the closet racks down the stairs. So think about, these just movie stars having this fight. So Johnny throws a clothing rack down the stairs. Apparently, Amber hears that commotion, comes back in, sees what's happening to her closet, walks up. The security guard gets in between them, is saying, we got to go. I think he's looking at his client throwing a fit, throwing clothes around, and he's like, all right, we got to go. He steps in between them to kind of say, we got to go. He sees Amber's clearly fist come over his right shoulder. He hears and sees the closed fist punch land on Johnny. And then he gets Johnny out of there. He testified that Johnny got really mad at him, pointed to the bruise and said, this is your fault. So even the way he describes Johnny isn't that great or totally positive. But, like I said in the very beginning, the whole story, the way it led in, the way he described it, the way Johnny described it, that whole thing seems plausible. Well, now we get to Amber's description of this same story, hours into the testimony, and she has to explain that pesky closed fist punch. I would guess that her and her lawyers had full afternoon, hours and hours long meeting just figuring out how are we going to explain that punch, and the way she does is utterly crazy. She chooses to say, I am a victim, but I am also a hero. That is her strategy. And so she describes it as she caught Johnny Depp cheating right before this whole thing happened he was passed out in his bed. I think when Johnny just falls asleep on normal nights, it's considered a pass out. But she said Johnny fell asleep in his bed at the end of the day. He passed out. And his iPad was open, and she saw a text from a woman that Johnny had a sexual relationship before Amber, and that upon coming back to America after their wedding, allegedly Johnny went over to her house, which Amber, after she describes that, just for the rest of the story, describes it as, I caught Johnny cheating, I don't know, but she's saying, I freaked out. I caught him cheating. I freaked out. So that's one of the first strategic lines of when it's 15 minutes where she tells this story. And right at the very beginning, she makes sure the jury hears her say, I freaked out. I freaked out. And it's like, okay, well then why should she be held responsible? She freaked out. So she's freaked out about the text on the iPad, and her and Johnny are arguing at the place, and this is where she says, quote, I don't really recall specifics. I remember at one point he had his hand in my hair, and I was looking at the carpet. I don't know what happened immediately after that, but I remember he left. I don't know how we got into Penthouse 3. I think it's like all of this, like, And so her story is that she went into her sister's room or her sister's apartment because Johnny was letting her sister Whitney live in one of the apartments for free. So she testifies that she goes into her sister's apartment to tell her, like, what am I going to do? Johnny's cheating on me. Our relationship is in the toilet. What am I going to do? Then she says, apparently Johnny comes in there, and then this part is very telling, I think, because she's saying that, Johnny was in there, and she was able at one point to, like, break away from his grasp or something like that, and Amber's lawyer goes, when you say, like, break away or when you guys engaged, what are you saying? And she doesn't say, like, he was slapping me. She goes, at that point in our relationship, Johnny would push me. He would hit me in the face all the time. He would throw me around. But that wasn't the question. It wasn't say what would Johnny do in the relationship. She said what happens in that moment, and she can't say anything. And it's in it. A few minutes later, everybody's talking about this punch, and the way everybody talks about this punch is it happened, and there's something happened after it. But with the other kind of like beatings and stuff, it's like I don't totally recall how we got in the room. I don't totally recall like what happened. But at that point in our relationship, he was hitting me a lot. He was throwing me around. But she didn't say like you. I think she would remember exactly what happened if Johnny did something right in front of her sister, right there. But then she said that then Johnny left again. I was able to escape. And then Amber goes on and on and on describing the layout of the apartment. I think, again, it's either she's just not that great at telling stories or she's grasping desperately to anything she can tell the truth about, because it's tough to be up there on the stand. You don't want to mess up at all. And then, Johnny's side goes like this, like, we got her, which happens in a second. So she's going, I don't remember, but the way that the apartments are laid out, and she goes on and on, it's like, who cares? But she said she hears Johnny screaming and throwing her clothes around. And so she goes back into the room and Johnny throws a Red Bull can at her. A lot of Amber's testimony is just what Johnny described of Amber, just the exact opposite. So if Johnny said she threw a Red Bull at me and a witness saw it, she just goes, well, Johnny threw it at me. So she says Johnny threw a Red Bull at her. And then she started calling him very ugly names because he threw a Red Bull at her, and that set him off. He bolts up the stairs. And then this is the part that she really takes a creative license. So, again, the security guard said that is true. Johnny went up the stairs, and she came in, saw the clothes everywhere, and came up and punched her. Well, that makes Amber look really bad. And so she testified that she comes up the stairs and he grabs her hair, and then probably her fakest line of the whole thing is she goes, and he hit me in the face with this cast he had. And she does a little, and she looks at the jury, and it just comes off sounding so fake. But she's saying, okay, he hit her with this cast, and then her sister, Whitney, gets in between them, but somehow in between them is on the top of the stairs with her back to the stairs. So Whitney now is somehow in between them, which doesn't make sense, because if Whitney got in between them and her back was on the stairs, that would mean that Amber is 2 stairs down the stairs, which she's not. But Amber testified that now her sister threw herself in the line of fire to stop Depp from beating her with the cast in the face. And she saw Johnny go to swing and hit her sister Whitney down the stairs, which would be attempted murder probably. She could break her neck. I mean, that's to say that she thinks Johnny was going to punch Whitney down the stairs. Remember, none of Johnny's exes have seen any of this behavior. One of his exes came out this weekend and said it's heartbreaking seeing Johnny go through this. They're all on his side. Amber got arrested for punching her previous partner in 2009. I mean, I think history does play a little bit. But anyway, she's saying she saw her sister at the top of the stairs and Johnny ready to punch her down, and she didn't. Then it goes into that empowered woman. I didn't even hesitate. I just went in and I landed a blow. And then she goes, but he didn't push my sister down the stairs at this. And it's like those lines were written. There's no doubt in my mind that those big lines she practiced. You know, she's a mediocre actor. I think that is kind of a underlying theme in this whole thing is, you know, you're not that good at the whole thing. But so heroically, she comes in, clocks Johnny in the face, saving her sister. Yas, queen. And then the security guard yanks Johnny out of the room. So did she punch Johnny with a closed fist? Yes. Was it a heroic action? Definitely. And what else do I want to say about Amber? It's going to be interesting to see who the witnesses are that they call, right? Depp's side had a bunch that I think are credible. People that worked for them that were there 10 hours a day. I think that they can get a feeling of the whole thing. From Rottenborn's motion to strike, I think that they admitted they don't have any evidence of physical abuse. And the whole thing will kick back off on Monday the 16th. They have a week off. There's definitely was strategy to bring Amber's testimony all the way up to the week off so the jury has that in their head, right? They're just thinking of the story she painted. One part that I don't even truly know where it's going to rear up is when she's talking about saving her sister heroically. Amber slips in a line and she goes, all I could think about is Kate Moss and the stairs. And when she does that, Mr. Chu, Depp's lawyer, turns around and looks at one of the other lawyers and goes, so I think they feel like they caught her in a slip up. Again, it's like going to come down to a little line slip up here. This is what you said, and the whole thing's fascinating. We'll see the cross-examination. I mean, this is the easy part. Amber's going through the easy part right now. Her lawyer's giving her softball questions, getting out of the way and letting her speak her truth. But that's not going to be how cross is. It's going to be fireworks, probably Monday or Tuesday that'll start. But I'm going to cut it off there. Love you all. See you soon. Why? Stab and why? Shum.